Hi, welcome back to Gary Rose Travels. Please click like and subscribe to our channel for more videos, and also visit GaryRoseTravels.com for all the best budget backpacker advice. And you can now find Gary Rose Travels on Facebook. So you know the drill, please click like and subscribe to our channel. So as promised, this is our second video in the Travel Northeast India guide. This video will be all about Guwahati. I'll be talking about how to get there, what to see, where to stay, what to eat, also daily costs, how to move around, and please watch the end of the video because I'll be talking about onward transport from Guwahati, where to get it from and where to head to for the next part of your adventure in the northeast. So carry on watching this video all the way to the end for all the best budget backpacker advice. So Guwahati, how to get there. In my previous video I spoke about getting the train or flying up to Guwahati. If you get the train, obviously you'll be arriving at the train station, which leads us nicely on to accommodation. There is some budget accommodation in Guwahati, but to be honest it is a little bit more on the expensive side of the accommodation. One of the cheaper places is called Sundarban Guest House. It's quite close to the railway station, so you don't need a rickshaw, you can go on foot, you don't need a taxi to get there, although they'll try and get you into a rickshaw or a taxi. You can go on foot. Also leaving the following day or the following days after, obviously it's close to the railway station, you haven't got to go far. Just to point out, the railway station and the bus station are close together. So there's also an interstate bus station. I'll talk about that at the end of the video, but most buses come into the bus station next to the railway station. So even if you do arrive in Guwahati by bus, it's all located in the same area, basically. So Sundarban Guest House, it's affordable, it's close to the railway station, it's cheap, it's clean, it's about 1,000 rupees. So it's alright, there's nothing wrong with it. What I do recommend is that you phone ahead and book a room because it is very popular, because it is more affordable. We found the phone number in the Lonely Planet guidebook. I'm sure it's still in there. If not, you can definitely find it online. So just give them a ring. Ask whoever, if you're coming from Calcutta, and you can always ask someone in the hotel you're staying in to give them a ring for you. Quite often it can be a little bit difficult to speak to people in India, so just get somebody to ask politely. Just ask politely if somebody to give you a hand if you need it, making the call and making the booking. So yeah, that's the place to stay. If you're not staying in Hotel Sundarban, there's also other places close to the railway station and bus stand. These are a little bit more expensive. They're about 1,500 to 2,000 rupees a night, but very often these include breakfast. In fact, most include breakfast, which is not a bad idea. It's not a bad option. I'll talk about food in just a few minutes and you'll understand why. So yeah, and often the standard is quite good. You're talking like hot water, showers, quite comfortable room. They're quite good for that money, to be honest. So if you want to get ready before furthering your adventure, stay in one of these if you want a little bit of comfort. So what to do in Guwahati, where to go, what to see. Now, I'm not going to lie, there's not loads to do in Guwahati. However, it does have one of the most unusual and fabulous temples that we have been to in India. Forget the ones in the south. The one in Guwahati is where it's at. So basically, this temple is, I'm going to tell you about it first. This temple is devoted to the goddess Sati, and basically Hindus in Hindu mythology, Hindus believe that Sati was chopped up by Shiva, and as her body parts fell to earth, it was her vagina which fell in Guwahati, and it fell on the site of the temple basically, and the temple was built to worship her. And the temple is very popular with followers of Shakti, which is the worship of female spiritual power. So even if you're not overly interested in temples, if you're not overly spiritual, definitely worth checking out because it is really unusual. Also, if you are on a bit of a spiritual journey, if you are interested in Hinduism, definitely go because it's an amazing place. So why should you go? basically, if you've never been in a large vagina, which I'm guessing you probably haven't, this is the closest that you can get. It's deep, it's dark, it's red, it's damp, it is moist, I'm going to use that word, it's huge, it's like a big cavernous basically shape when you go in. Basically you queue for ages, and then you go down this tunnel, and you just keep going deeper and deeper and darker and darker, and it gets busy, and there's chanting, and the air is thick with incense, and it's wet, and there's priests and robes, and there's ticker and there's gold, and it's an amazing place. So even if you're not overly interested in Hinduism and temples usually, definitely check this one out, because one, they let you in, and very often you're not allowed in Hindu temples, and the fact that you're allowed in should be amazing because you get to see something you wouldn't normally see. And also it's just such an unusual experience. It's a very sensual or sensory, I should say sensory experience, not overly sensual, sensory experience. You know, the smells, the sights, the sounds, the feel of it. It's really unusual. You know, I enjoyed this. It was weird and I enjoyed it, okay? I'm not gonna lie, it was weird, but I enjoyed it because it was so unusual. Definitely go and check it out because it's another unusual thing to do in India. If you've watched my other videos and read my blog, you'll know that there is also a temple called the Kali Mata in Rajasthan, which is a temple where there's lots of rats. Please do check out that video and that post on GaryRoseTravels.com. I like my unusual temples, I like my unusual sites and my unusual activities, so do please check it out. The temple. Anyway, the Kamakya Mandir is the name of it. You can get a shuttle bus up to it. There's loads of places to eat. However, it is pure veg up there, so if you like your pure veg, if you want your pure veg, definitely head there for some pure veg food. Also go to the temple. Yeah, basically, there's also a little bit of animal sacrifice going on outside the temple. It's a bit blood heavy, but it's a womb. So yeah, do please check it out. It's unusual. So we've spoke about the Kamakya Mandir. We spoke about accommodation. Now we're going to speak about food, because there's not an awful lot of eating options in Guwahati, and as I said earlier, if your hotel does breakfast, this is really good because very often the breakfast is a vegetarian option. Now most places offer things like offer like chicken, egg, fish thali. Now I don't like fish, egg, meat, chicken, thali. I will eat a thali. I don't mind it, but I tend not to eat too much chicken and fish in India. Also, if you want your vegetarian option, you can either head up towards the temple or you can eat the breakfast in the hotel. Unfortunately, you can't be overly choosy, so it's kind of thali or thali really in Guwahati, especially if you're on a budget. There's not loads of vegetarian options, so I'd recommend having egg or veg if you can find it. Maybe just ask for like no fish or no chicken or no egg, rice and dal basically. That's how it is. There's not fabulous eating options up there. There is a cafe coffee day. It's located near the courthouse, but if you're on a tight budget, perhaps you can't stretch to that. There's a few places like knockoff Pizza Hut. We have eaten in that. It was not good. So yeah, I think there's a KFC as well. I think I saw in like a shopping mall, but again, if you're on a tight budget, this isn't really an option. So yeah, I'm afraid it's meat, fish, egg thali. Actually, I've just noticed here that one point, when you arrive in Guwahati, now you can get to hotels close to the railway station. We spoke about Hotel Sunderban, we spoke about hotels close to the railway station. When you arrive in Guwahati, you need to make sure that you arrive at a sensible time. Once a few years ago, our train was delayed and we ended up rocking up in Guwahati at about 1 AM. Now, Guwahati is not the kind of place you want to be wandering around late at night. Most of the hotels do shut their doors at about 10:30, 11, so There weren't many place options obviously open to us, and the only ones which were open were about 5,000 rupees a night, so obviously being on budget this was out of the question. So what did we do? We didn't want to be wandering around Guwahati, we didn't want to pay out, so what we did, we didn't even venture into, because we'd already been before, we knew what this was like. However, if this is your first time, you'd be caught out. So because we knew what it was like, we stayed at the railway station. It was about 1 a.m. It got light in Guwahati about 4 a.m, 4:30. So what we did is we sat in the waiting room, we read our Kindles, we drank chai, and we just sat and waited. Yes, it wasn't overly comfortable, it was a little bit chilly, it was a little bit boring, but one, it was much safer than walking around Guwahati late at night with our bags on, and two, it was much cheaper. Now there is a ladies only waiting room in Guwahati railway station, so if you are two girls or one woman on her own, I definitely recommend going and sitting in there. There is army presence all over the railway station. There's also a police station and staff all throughout the night because it is so busy, and also a lot of the locals also sit and wait in the waiting room or in the ladies only, so that's what I'd recommend you do. I wouldn't recommend wandering around Guwahati. I'm not going to say it's because it's dangerous, but because the locals don't do that, and also, you know, we were advised just sit and wait is better than walking around there late at night. You wouldn't walk around late at night in an unfamiliar part of town in England or your country where you're from, so why would you do it when you're abroad? So basically check your train tickets before you buy them, or your bus tickets before you buy them, or your flight before you buy it. Check the arrival time to make sure it's suitable. If your arrival time is like 9:30 or 10 o'clock, I'd be a bit dubious, because all the times we've been to Guwahati, the transport has been delayed, especially by train, so do double check it first, or make prior arrangements to have, if you're paying out for a hotel, then make prior arrangements, you know, phone them, tell them you're arriving, perhaps get a taxi to the hotel in itself. But if you're on a strict budget, like I'm guessing you are, that's what I recommend you do. So in the morning, after we stayed at the station, we got a shared jeep onto our next destination. So this saved us both time and money, basically. As soon as it was light, we got the first shared jeep out of there. Yeah, it saved us time and money, so to be honest, it wasn't overly bad, but that's how we did it. So onward travel from Guwahati can be done in a variety of ways. You can either leave by shared jeep, which is what we have done many times. If you're heading up to Darjeeling, you can take the train, you can head to New Jalpaiguri, and then you can change up to Darjeeling, or you can take the train further east to Jorhat and Dibrugarh, which are much further on in the northeast. You can also reach Jorhat by bus. Now Jorhat is where that is the mighty Kaziranga National Park, and the bus going to Jorhat, you jump off basically for Kaziranga National Park. So there's lots of different options to leave Guwahati. Another good thing about staying close to the railway station is obviously if you're getting the train the next day, you haven't got far to walk. You can also get shared jeeps from next to the railway station. They leave from the bus stand. Shared jeeps are also known as sumos. It costs about 100 rupees to 150 rupees per seat in a shared jeep. Now they are quite a cosy experience, and you might have to put your luggage on the rack on the top. If you've got a little bit more money or you don't mind, I would recommend paying out for an extra seat. One, if you're very tall like Gary and he's got long legs, we sometimes pay out for an extra seat because it's very uncomfortable. Also, we sometimes pay out for an extra seat if it's raining to put our bags inside. It's just a little bit more comfortable. Sometimes they have a tarpaulin to cover, sometimes they don't. Sometimes you have to pay like an extra 20 rupees to protect your bag. So really kind of like 200 rupees basically for your seats. As I said, be prepared for a cosy journey. So basically that is Guwahati. Now for basic costs, as I said, accommodation is a little bit more expensive and you have to pre-book Hotel Sundarban. I would recommend pre-booking it. So for your daily budget, it can be a little bit tight. I think if you're following my advice on my daily budget, I hope you are, your budget will be 2,150. This is your slightly lower daily budget. What I'd recommend you do for your time in the northeast is use your full daily budget. So, and if you're not sure on this, please do check out my budget videos, my Indian budget videos. Also check out my video on how to use your money in India, how to work out your currency. All these videos can be found on my channel, and then you'll know exactly what it is I'm talking about. So what you'll need is your full daily budget as opposed to the slightly reduced daily budget, and you will be using your float amount. Again, if you're not sure what I mean by float amount, check out my other videos and you will learn. So basically that is a breakdown of Guwahati. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have any questions or want any further advice, you're not sure, perhaps you feel like I was a bit vague or waffled on too much, then do please get in touch. Leave a comment here, and also you can get in touch on GaryRoseTravels.com. Okay, so please come back for my next video. I will be talking all about Meghalaya. Okay, see you next time.